I have quite a few things I want to cover today, and the biggest point I really want to get across today is I hope I can give you some really good motivation for starting. Um, if you haven't already started working on downsizing things in your home, that maybe I can give you some good motivation and tips along the way to help you accomplish that. So I know that Larry sent you an email with the link to this presentation, and also he sent you a downsize guidebook as an attachment. So if you don't already have one of these books, looks like this. And if you've been to a presentation here before, you may have one of those. I like it very much. It's from my presentation, and it's really a quick, easy way of getting some good information without a lot of stories behind it. I'm going to add a few stories to it today, though. So, so you have that. And if you want a regular copy of it, Larry will be calling you on Sunday. I also have some information that I can have him send to you also for some different resources for downsizing. If you would like those, he'll be calling you, checking in on Sunday to see how you like the presentation. And then at that time, you can let him know if you would like to have some additional information. So again, my name is Catherine Arendt. I have been with Aljoya, Mercer Island, since we opened 12 years ago. I cannot believe it's been 12 years. And before that, I was working as a move manager, where I worked for a company that we would go out to people's homes that were moving. Most often they were moving to a retirement community, so they were downsizing from their homes that they'd been in for a while. And getting ready to move into a smaller space. And I just fell in love with doing that. The first day I went out there, I knew I was where I was supposed to be, doing what I was supposed to do. I happen to love seniors. My grandmother lived with us growing up, and so that I can be a part in helping people, sometimes through a difficult period of their life, has really been a complete pleasure for me. So I've been doing this now for 15 or more years, and I've seen a lot of things. And the reason I like to do this workshop was based on helping people out in their homes and just seeing some of the emotions and the difficulty and the joy of doing things. So I'm here to teach you how to do it yourself, but you can also know that there are companies out there that can help you. Might not be a good time for that now since we're in COVID, but there are resources like that out there. So now I'm going to show you how to do it yourself. It's not difficult. So I love this quote. I just saw this quote this morning, and I just think that we can use this in our life always. It's not the mountain that we conquer, but ourselves. So it's not the job that's sitting in front of us, but it's our thoughts and our feelings about that job that can drown us or move us forward. And so I'm hoping that I can help you if you have challenges, that I can help you with some of those challenges. So you may be standing at a crossroads right now. And I know for some people, they have been to my downsize before, and it's really been a struggle to get started. It's because really a lot of it is very emotional. And so often we're saying, oh my goodness, it's just too hard. I just can't do this. And then others will say, oh, yes, I have a plan and I better get to work. So here you are, you're standing at this crossroads, and to the left, it's the Hard Work Boulevard, and to the right, it's Easy Street. And so it's your choice to decide which road you want to walk down when you're working on this project. The hard way begins with a thought, and that thought is just, it's too hard. And it can, doing nothing really causes more clutter often in our mind. And it seems hard because we have closed our mind to the possibilities. And we don't want to admit that we deliberately, and we all do this, that we deliberately maintain chaos in certain parts of our life. But we do. I mean, we all do this. We all have our area that we probably struggle with the most. So we do this in order to prevent having to make a decision sometimes, whatever area of your life you're struggling with about that. And nothing postpones decision making better than keeping a situation, whoops, I moved that forward before I wanted to, situation in chaos. So that's one way. That's one way that we can go. And then the other way is the easy street. And the easy street is, oh my goodness, I'm really looking forward to my next adventure in life. I've been in my house for a long time, and I might be staying in my house, but there are so many things here that I don't use anymore and I don't need anymore. And I am really ready to move on and to really start working through these things and finding new homes for things. And I am really grateful for that. So I'm going to give you a little story, two stories actually. One for doing things, not doing things, really putting them off. Sometimes people say that, well, I think I'll just leave it for my kids to do. And because I just can't do this, and so they can do this. And golly, that is really, I say sometimes that's really mean, because I see how that sometimes works in a situation where we kind of put off doing what we know we need to do. And, frankly, it's just house cleaning, right? It's just planning our life, and like we've done all of our life. And so this is just, downsizing is just part of that. But if we don't do it and then we leave it, sometimes what happens, and I've seen this more than once, is that all of a sudden a life event happens that isn't very pleasant, and you're unable to do things yourself. Someone else has to do them for you. And if it's your children, they're often just not only trying to figure out how to get rid of things in your home, but maybe they are worried about your health, or maybe they're suffering your loss. And so I recently heard a child of someone who had been going through this process, and when I'm a child, they're not children, they're way grown up in their 50s. And they're saying, oh my gosh, I have never had such a stressful few weeks in my life as I have just gone through right now. So just, we don't want to do that to each other. We make our messes, and messes isn't necessarily a mess, but just we have our things in life, and then we save them in our homes because we can. But at some point, really, if we could just go through them and get rid of the things that just don't do us any good anymore, that we're not in the least bit interested in, it just makes things a lot easier. And really now during COVID, where sometimes it might seem a little more difficult to get rid of things, um, although not necessarily, but it may seem that way. You have a really great opportunity to be able to maybe collect things in bags. I've done this where I have gone through my closets and pulled things out that I don't want anymore. And they're still in my house because I haven't had the time to be able to take them someplace, but they're all contained in boxes and in bags in my house. And if you have a place where you can put them, sometimes it's just in the corner of the room where they came from, you actually have time to really live without those things and see if it's something that you really miss. Or if, hey, I don't even, what's in those bags? And I don't even know what's in those bags. It makes it easier to get rid of them. So, so that I think is a really great way of being able to do some of that. And so let's shift over. We're in back on the easy street again. I'm going back and forth because sometimes that's what we do. We go one way or the other. And just you can really work and think in a positive way about what you want to do in your house. And it also begins with a thought, and that tends to usually be a more positive thought. I worked with a couple who are on our wait list, and actually haven't really even worked with them. But I went over to their house because they had been doing a lot of downsizing and they wanted some advice from me. And this was before COVID. And I went over there, and she was it was a couple, but she was doing most of the downsizing. And she was so proud of everything she had done. And she took me through her whole house, opening drawers, look, it's empty, and I've all done this, and look at these piles, and I've got rid of this, and I have my plan, and we're not moving yet. We have a plan for a year or two away, but I just really wanted to start doing this, and so that when we're ready to move, I'll be prepared. And she was just happy as a lark, and her husband was happy that she was happy. So it's really just having that positive attitude and really starting to work on those things and keeping your attitude positive. I wrote a few notes here because I didn't want to forget some of these things I wanted to say. So, I call this workshop Downsize to the Right Size. And really downsizing, before you can really start downsizing, you really have to start thinking about what does right sizing mean to me? What is my life like now, and what's important to me? And what's my plan? Because, we all have, even if we don't have a concrete plan, we have some idea of what am I going to do now? We plan our life as we go along. We don't just, when you're planning a trip, you don't just say, let's go to the airport and now where do we want to go? Do you remember what an airport is? And, but you plan it, and you plan your whole itinerary and your trip and where you're going and what you're bringing and what you're packing and all of that. And that's what this is. What is your life now? And how can you make your home reflect who you are today? And that's right sizing. That's getting everything the way you want it, because it's your place where you are now. And you get rid of all those other things that really don't do you any good anymore. Downsizing is when you haven't done anything, and then all of a sudden, maybe there's a life event, and that happens. Who could have predicted COVID, right? My goodness, that's just the perfect example. But it could be a health event. It could be a great opportunity. And if you're not prepared for it, all of a sudden you have what do I do with all this stuff now? And then that becomes downsizing. And often how that looks in a move, and I've seen this more than once, is that, and especially just know right now, in this moment, right now, what's happening out there is that the real estate market is really hot. It would be a fabulous time to sell your house because the prices are going way up and people are paying you even more than you're asking and often paying you cash. It is a wonderful time to sell. So if someone finally, if you either convince yourself or if someone finally talks you into moving, then, and you get a realtor, I'm telling you that realtor is going to push you hard to get out of that house as soon as possible so they can put it on the market. And I also will say, listen to them when they say, move before we sell your house, because your house will sell faster and for more money if you're not in it. And so, but if you are not prepared, if you haven't thrown one thing out and you still have all of your things, and you don't even have a plan, you haven't even thought about a plan, that can be crazy. And I have seen this too, where either things get thrown out and you don't even know what they are anymore. They're just pretty much taken away because everyone's in such a rush to help you, or they move it. They move it way too much to where you're moving to, way too much. So then you're overwhelmed by boxes with no place to put anything. I have seen that. It's not pretty. Don't do that. So this is my, that is my pep talk to you to hopefully help you get motivated and moving to action if you haven't already started that. So another success story on that was for a lady who I helped move. She's been living here now for at least a year and a half, probably 2 years. And when I went over to her house to, because one of the things I do, which is really something, when you move to Aljoya, you get my service as far as being a move coordinator. So I come out and I help you figure out what furniture, you tell me what furniture you want to bring. I measure everything. I put it on a floor plan so you can see how it's going to look. And usually people are amazed that they can bring more than they think they can. Because if you look at an apartment and it's empty, no matter how big that apartment is, it looks small, probably compared to where you're living now. But it is amazing how much you can get into an apartment without it being overstuffed and cluttered. So I help with that. And I went over to her house and she had a big house. And we were in her kitchen and there were a lot of cupboards in her kitchen. And so as I was talking to her, I said, you know, you're going to need to go through your kitchen cupboards and tone them down, because the kitchens at Aljoya, where they're generous, they're not that generous. And so you're not going to need all these things, nor will you use all these things, because you're going to be eating fabulous meals here and not doing a lot of cooking that maybe you have been doing now. And she goes, oh, those cupboards are already empty, already empty. And she said, and as we go through the house, you'll see I have a lot of built-ins in my house and they're all empty because I decided, my husband passed away. I can't remember if it had been just a year or a little bit more. And I just decided I did not want to stay in this big house. I do not want to go through another winter and worry about all the rain and is the power going to go off? And I have all these big trees around my house and I worry all the time about a tree falling down on my house. I don't want to worry about that anymore. And that is why I got off my butt and started getting rid of all of this stuff. And I'm ready. I am totally ready. That was a really glorious move and a very happy woman. Still happy today. And so those are success stories. And I hope that for everybody. So here we are. Why should we start downsizing? So you can see these 5 points, and there's a million more. You have your own ideas of what you think is most important for you for downsizing. But really, the first one really has to do with the thoughts we're thinking about what's holding us back from doing it. It's a great opportunity to talk to your family and friends, see if there's anything that they would want. With this one woman that I helped move in said that as soon as her neighbors heard she was moving, they were all calling her, asking her, "Are you going to bring that piece of furniture? If not, I want it." So there is that, and and then it also just gives you a sense of getting more space in your own home and really kind of figuring out what you really want to or need to live comfortably and be happy. And even if you don't actually pull one thing off a shelf or put it in a box, although I hope you do, making decisions about what you want to keep and what you don't want to keep are really very important. So I like to say, do a walkthrough of your house and just room by room. And it doesn't have to be all at one time, but as you're walking through a room in your house, just look at what's in it and say, do I like that? Do I not like that? Or boy, I would have to have that with me no matter where I go. I really love it. So I asked you to go around and look, what do I really, really love? And what do I use every day? Those are the most important things. If you can think, what do I really love? And what do I use every day? What really defines me? And focus on that, all the other stuff in your house just starts falling away, it just starts coming, and you look at it and you go, oh, that's easy. I can get rid of that. I can get rid of that. And it helps really turn your thoughts to where maybe you were thinking it was really difficult. Now all of a sudden you go, that this is actually a lot easier than I thought it would be. So just making decisions is a huge part. And then allow yourself time to be, and that's why I want everyone to start now and just give yourself a little bit of time or more to be able to process through and be thoughtful about those things that you want to keep, so that in case there's a crisis, and those things happen and they're unpredictable for every one of us at any age, at any time. And again, here we are in COVID. So it's really, I think, a really gift you can give yourself if you give yourself, I always call it, give yourself the gift of time. And so don't delay anymore. Okay, we're going to take a leap. And we are going to start moving towards new possibilities. And as you go through your things, I want you to expect emotion. It was the one thing that when I was out helping people at their homes before I came to Aljoya, helping them go through things, they would get really emotional sometimes. And then that really surprised them. They were like, oh my goodness, why am I feeling this way? And it's just so common. I mean, it's because we're wrapped up in our things. They have stories behind them. They don't really define us, but they have a story that that was important to us at one time or another, or maybe still are. So expect things to be emotional. You're going to make a plan. That's very important. And then you're going to work the plan, and then you are going to start now. So, just plan on now, right now, this minute, you're going to start. And so we're going to move forward. You're never too old to set another goal or to dream a new dream. I love that quote too. So moving on forward. Okay, so setting goals are really important, and then writing them down. So there are, everyone has their own goals. I'm just going to put some of these out there so you can look at them. And then what I want you to really focus on, though, is that you're going to write things down. And your goals could change, but write them down. And so you can look at them. And even if you write it down and then you set it aside, your mind starts working on that. Even if you're not thinking about it, there's a part of you that is. And you will be surprised sometimes if you If you put that aside and don't do anything, which I hope you don't do, you're going to find that piece of paper and you're going to go, oh my goodness, I did a lot of those things that I wrote down. But write it down, refer to it. Maybe it's finding those pieces that are really most important, talking to your family. Is there anything you want? And what, there's a lot of things I can donate. Certainly there's a lot of people out there who need things. And if we have things just sitting around collecting dust in a storage area, in boxes, and they're not doing you any good, you don't even know they're there, pass them on to others and let others be able to enjoy them. I think that's huge. You might have an opportunity to sell some things. You're not going to make a whole lot of money. So don't go into this thinking, oh, I'm going to sell this. And don't be thinking that I have this gorgeous dining room table that I bought. And boy, did we spend a lot of money on that. It's beautiful. And I had all our family dinners and our friends over, and we've used that table for many years, and it's a joy. And it's still immaculate. And I want a huge price for it because that's what I paid. You are not going to get that. You are not going to get that. And it, depending upon the size of some of our furniture, it can be really hard to find a resource for selling. But we'll get into that in a little bit. But that's a possibility. And then just get rid of the junk. If you don't do anything else, the easiest way to start is to just go around and get all this junk that you've gathered, whether it's, electronic equipment that doesn't work anymore. There's so many resources out there for getting rid of those things. And if you gather them all up and again, even if you can't dispose of them right at this moment, you still have them all contained in an area, and you can do it with so many things, and then get some help or find a time when you can actually get rid of those things. We'll go through some of those sources too. It's very important to write it down though, and put it where you can see it. But again, I'll tell you, even if you close it up and put it away, your mind is still working on it. But it's helpful if you have it right there where you can see it and actually do something about it. So now we're going to really start. Let's create a timeline. Let's get going. Let's give ourselves some time. Let's pull out your calendar, find some time. What works best for you? Are you a morning person or are you an afternoon person? So when do you have your best energy? I'm a morning person, so I like to get going early and then be done. But, I'm kind of weird that way, I think. There's a lot of people who are more afternoon people. Doesn't matter, whatever your day, whatever time of day works best for you. And I'm not asking you to spend that whole morning or that whole afternoon, especially when you get started. When you get started, it might be 15 minutes, half an hour maybe. It should never be more than 3 hours is when you're an expert. You could be teaching this class for 3 hours. 2 hours, I would say, would be really the max. You'll know when to stop because you'll start getting cranky. And if you're working with someone, you'll get cranky with each other. Or you start making bad decisions or having a hard time making a decision. When that happens, it's time to stop. But if you put it on your calendar, it makes you accountable and you are more likely to actually do something. So you might be doing target dates. You're going to write those down. And then when you so maybe you write something on your calendar that says, I am going to clean out my kitchen drawers. Okay, so you might want to start with one drawer. So maybe you're going to write down, I'm going to spend 15 minutes on one drawer tomorrow on Friday. And I'm going to clean that out and we'll just see how we go from there. And then you're like, what am I going to put that stuff in? I need a box. So maybe you need to go find yourself a box. You might need to make some to-do lists based on that. So that's basically it. It's very important to write down your goals. Okay, and then I see this meet with family and friends. You know, when I first created this PowerPoint, it was when I first started at Aljoya, so it's been about 12 years. When I was out in the field working, one of the things that we saw quite often was how the children of the people we were working for would fight over the things that mom and dad weren't taking with them. I want that. Mom said I could have that. No, no, mom said I could have that. And, you know, I would see some of those fights. I saw those fights within relatives of mine too, who actually got so mad at each other over things that they were fighting for after their parents had passed that they stopped talking to each other for a long time. And that broke my heart. And so I set this up originally to meet with your family or friends um, and talk about these things beforehand so that there aren't those issues. Now I say, meet with your family or friends and say, is there anything you would like? Because now the fights are more, no, you take it. No, you take it. I don't have any room. You take it. And so, you know, everyone's got so much in their houses anymore that really they often don't want your things. And there's not the same sentiment that there used to be. Like when I was younger, um, I wanted some of those things in my mom and dad's house because they were family heirlooms and they had a story behind them and a history behind them, and that was really important to me. But times have kind of changed and people don't really feel that way. They just see it as old stuff and doesn't fit their lifestyle. So it's hard to accept that sometimes, but it is a reality. So you want to, now it's not so much meeting with them because, you know, we're in our bubble and I don't know how big your bubble is. So it might not be where you would be meeting very often, but you can talk to your children or your friends. And there's many ways of communicating now where you can um, ask them if there's anything they would like. And don't just stop at your children, ask their children, because sometimes it's the grandchildren, the younger children, even the great grandchildren who really see something special in grandma and grandpa's house that they love. And maybe they've never said that to you, but it always would be, they would see that, they would know that when they were in your house and they would want those things. Could just be little things. So then as we're starting our downsizing and we're looking at the things in our house, we want to make sure we start asking ourselves questions about them. And so here are some of the questions that you might want to ask. Does this item, does this item really enhance my life now? Is it something where maybe it was really important at one time in my life, but maybe I don't do that activity anymore. Maybe I don't do that craft anymore. So do I really need to keep it? Is it going to make my life better? Or would I be better off getting rid of it? Does it fit in my space? And especially if I'm moving, would this be something that I'd want to move with me? Do I really use it? Do I need it? And then for people who have collections of things, do I need a full collection? And you can even do that with your dishes, because sometimes people have multiple sets of dishes. And so sometimes what they do is they take a few of different sets and they have a collection. So they'll have all of what they love, but they won't have the full 8 place settings or 12 place settings of it. They'll just narrow it down. And then do these things have value? And boy, value has changed a lot too. And so things, especially like China, does not have the value that it once had. People don't use China very much anymore. Things with flowers on it are not popular. Furniture with flowers on it are not popular at this time. So there's all of that. What is the value? Sometimes it's more emotional value than it is monetary value. And again, I say, don't expect to get rich at selling your furniture. And does this fit my new lifestyle? That's important too. And do I even like this? Sometimes we keep things because of someone who gave it to us. And if they come over to our house, we want to make sure they can see it. My mother-in-law gave me this beautiful coffee table that they got, I think, in Japan. It's beautiful. And she gave it to us when we were first married. And I put it in my family room. Which is where we spent all of our time, which happened to be in the downstairs of our home. And so when you walked in the front door and the living room was right there, it wasn't there. It was where we used it all the time. And that bothered her so much. She was so upset that we had it down there. She didn't think we appreciated it and she wanted to take it back. So don't do that to people. I wouldn't let her take it back and I did not move it. So, anyway, so if there's things you don't like, just, now's the time to let them go. Okay, you're going to start working on your project and you're going to need your size guidebook. And so I always like to make sure that people have what they need when they're working, so that when you take that time to work, you don't go, oh, I don't have any bags, or oh, I don't have any boxes, can't do it today, and then you just put it off. You don't want to break your momentum. You want to keep going so that you keep working. So you want to make sure you have bags, and you want to make sure you have boxes. You want to have a marker because you want to be able to write what's in a box if you pack a box, and especially if you pack it and seal it for, whatever, or even if it says donation. But I ask you, don't write on the box with the marker. Get a piece of paper, can be anything, that you tape on the box that you write. That way, if you're going to reuse that box, and sometimes you do, you won't have other things written on the box. I've seen that where, especially when you're selling your house and the realtor comes and they box up all this stuff that all this personal stuff that's in your house, they don't want when people come in to look, and they put it in your garage and they write on the boxes what it is. Well, then we had someone that moved in that reused those boxes when it was time to move. And so when the movers came in to the apartment here, they put all those boxes according to the rooms, but those boxes were marked from the rooms that things were taken from in the other house and put in the garage. And so all the boxes were in the wrong places, which made for really a struggle with unpacking. So I just say put a piece of paper on it. That way you can reuse the box if you need to at a later time. You're going to want to have packing tape. I forgot to bring them in, but I'll show you in a little while. Color dot stickers are a great tool for putting on things that you want to keep or not, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. You might want to have a tape measure to be able to measure some things to see if they're going to fit in your new space if you're moving. Scissors, a box cutter, you might need a hammer, screwdriver if you're taking anything off a wall. And obviously your calendar for making your appointments, and scratch paper for, taking notes, a notebook maybe. And another great thing about this guidebook is that towards the end of the book, there are rooms listed. And so you can make notes. You can use this book. This is a workbook. You can be doing a lot of your stuff right here in this book, and then you have it all in one place. And so you can make notes. I'm in my den, and what do I want to say about that? I'm going to measure my desk, and it's right there. It tells you right there. So it's really handy. It's nice to have this book. If you don't have it, Larry will send it to you. So anyway, so have your things and put it in a box or something. Don't go out and buy something pretty like this cute little Downsize toolkit. Just put it together so that when you're going to go work, I have 15 minutes. Now, where's my tools? You can get them and bring them and start working. So you're not wasting time on those things. So how are we going to go through your house? Well, let's start with the small and work up to the large. And so do what you know first means get rid of all of those things that you absolutely know you don't want. And group like things together and go through them. And begin in a less personal space. So choose a room that is that you don't use very much. If you live in your home and that you've raised your children, you probably have empty bedrooms, and sometimes they become kind of a catch-all. I call them, I don't know what to do with this, so I'll put it in here room. And so clean that out. It makes for a great staging area as you're downsizing. You can start storing things in there temporarily. I suppose I should stop for a moment to ask if there's any questions so far. Does anyone have any questions? If you do, you can unmute yourself and ask. Nope. Okay, I'm going to keep going. But if you do, just you can hit that chat button, and then I know that David will alert me to that. So I will go on. So you can also just set a time clock and work on a drawer. This is often if you just have a few minutes to spare, maybe you're waiting to go somewhere or do something. And if you just start a timer and say, I'm going to open up this drawer and clean it out. And when it stops, I can quit and then go from there. One thing I'll tell you, when you start opening up drawers and cleaning things out, especially if it's in areas where there might be some memorabilia, pictures, cards, sometimes we take a little drawer in our nightstand and we have these cards that we put in that we receive from other people. Sometimes it's pictures. I went to someone's house one day and who was moving, and we went into her bedroom, and there was a small drawer sitting on her bed, and the contents were laying on the bed, and I could see what they were, and I went, did you stop and start going through those items there? Because there were pictures and there were cards. And she said, yes. And I went, nope, you can't do that. You have a box for those things. You put memorabilia, put pictures in a box, put memorabilia in another box. You can label those boxes. And then later in the evening, when you're relaxing, that's when you go through and you start reading those things. Because if you start reading those things while you're working and you have a certain amount of time that you're working, guess what? You're done for the day, because you're going to get really caught up in those memories. So the point is to start out slow and build yourself up. Break a room down into areas. So that maybe I'm just going to clean out the closet in this room today, or maybe I'm going to go through the drawers and the bureaus in this room today and clean those out. And then so you don't have to do the whole thing. Or maybe I'm going to start going through all of my books, or I'm going to go through all of my clothes in every closet in this house. And if I have to try them on, great. It's not a bad idea to do that, because then you can say, you might have that pile of, I'm absolutely keeping, so you're going to hang that up, or I'm going to get rid of this, I know for sure. And then there might be that gray area. So put that gray area, those things like, well, maybe I really want to keep it. Put those in a separate bag and let them just sit for a while. It might be a month. And then see if you miss them at all, if you can let them go. So here's the color coding. Really a great way of doing things. It's those, you can buy them in the drugstore. It's those little round dots that come in different colors, and you can buy a package of them that have 4 different colors. We used them a lot when I was out in the field working. We used a green color. You can also buy tape, because they use that masking tape, comes in all different colors these days. Sometimes for moving, it's nice to put some tape around the box. Green is things I'm keeping or I'm moving with me. Blue are things I'm going to sell, maybe, or maybe I'm going to put in the storage. So when we Either I'm going to, when I move to my new place and there's storage, I'm going to mark everything blue so it doesn't come to the apartment. It's going to go to storage so it doesn't have to come up and then down again. Or if there's offsite storage, please don't do that. We spend a lot of money on that for items that we never look at again. But so I don't think that's a good idea. But anyway, yellow I like to use for family and friends because you could write someone's name on it and you can see it clearly through that light color. And then red are things you're going to donate or maybe just things you don't want. Just take it away. Don't know what I'm going to do. Sometimes it's the junk hauler that comes and takes those items away. And when you're using bags, you can use two different kinds of bags, at least temporarily while you're working in an area. The white bags are always something that you're either going to keep yourself or you're going to donate. It's good stuff that has a place to go. The black bags is just for trash. They're usually the big thicker bags, you know, so that they can hold bigger items. They're stronger, so you can just put the trash in those. That way you never get that mixed up. Don't put dots on those bags because the dots won't stay. If you want to tag them with anything, you're gonna have to write it on a piece of paper and tape it on there because the dots just fall off. Again, if family wants some things and you don't really need them now, ask them to take them now. If you still have things in your house that you're from your kids when they were growing up and they want them, tell them they have 2 weeks to pick them up or they're going out on the street. I'm serious when I say that because they will stay. You are their storage. And as long as you let them be your storage, it'll stay there. So tell them, I'm cleaning out. So if you want it 2 weeks, I'm going to give you this date. If you're not here by then, it's gone. And then, you know, this is kind of hard now with COVID, but, you know, you can get your family in to help and your family should come in to help. And what I hear often is, oh, my family is so busy. Well, we're not as busy as we used to be, first of all. Still, also, they can come over and help you now, or they can do it all themselves at another time. I would give them that option. You can come and help me now, or I'll just leave it all and you can clean it all up yourself. So choose. And you can hire someone. And there are people that are going out there now too. There's a lot of safety measures that we have here. So, and out in the field so that we can work with people and still be safe, having the right PPEs. And again, just allow yourself time to work on your project. And I'm gonna, again, here's just a short little list of resources. And as I said, Larry would be happy to send them to you. I have several of them here. But anyway, so just when he calls you on Sunday, just tell him yes. The options for selling things are, if you're selling your house, a great idea is an estate sale. They're doing those things. You have to be moved out of your house. They come in, they set it all up, and you can speak with estate sale companies to find out how they do that. Consignment stores are a little more difficult because they don't want big items. There's not a lot of activity in stores these days. And there's a lot of things they don't want. You can check into them, but again, a resource, but maybe not your best. And you are not going to make very much money on those things. Auction houses are also a good way of going. I have Craigslist on here, but as I go through this thing, I'm going to cross that out. There are these great neighborhood groups now that are through Facebook or just independent. Nextdoor is one of them. They're a group in your neighborhood that you have to ask to join, and they check you out to make sure you're in the right geographical area. And then you can put things on there that a lot of times it's this, I want to give this away. Sometimes you can sell it, but not always. And if you really want to get rid of it, don't put a really high price on it because most likely people won't pay for it. But it's a great option. And then you can put it outside, they can come and get it, and you don't have to have anyone in your house, which is, I think, a great idea. So that is, ta-da! sort of the end of the presentation. You're going to feel so good when you have narrowed down your possessions and to the ones that you really love. That it's just such a good feeling, and then you're ready for whatever other adventure. We have some great apartments available now, and I know that we have toured. I remember when you used to come and we toured you, and I have shown people apartments that I knew they really loved, and at the time I said, well, this apartment's not available, someone lives here, and but some of those apartments are available right now, and if you don't take this opportunity to take them while you can, you'll probably never have that opportunity again, because someone is taking them. People are moving in now, and they're getting some really amazing apartments right now, and it could be you. So hopefully you are in that right spot and are ready for that move. So if you haven't started, please do. Any questions? Larry is here. He'll be calling on Sunday to ask what you thought, and if you have any questions that come up, then he'll write them down and get them to me, and then I will, and then we can talk to you about that if necessary. And Larry is here also to talk to you about the available apartments. And just how things we're living fine here at Aljoya. The residents are really happy living here, even when they have to be more careful. We still find so many ways to keep them engaged and with all sorts of great activities and education and opportunities for exercise and all sorts and wonderful meals, and neighbors that are right on the other side of the wall from them. So they're always amongst people. They're not lonely. We do their grocery shopping for them. It's, they love that. And grocery stores are really not a safe place. I mean, they say it's one of the big areas of COVID these days. So anyway, that's it for me.
Catherine, it looks like we do have one question.
Oh,
and it is, do you have a good website for dealing with pictures? My daughter says just scan them, but I don't know how to do that. My scanning adventures are never satisfactory.
Yes, as a matter of fact, let me go backwards in this to that resource page, because I think right on that resource page is photographs. So you see this here where it says photographs, www.digmypics.com. That is a great resource for your pictures. You can send them off. Just look at that website. It's very popular and used by national magazines. And also, I want to also bring you this attention over here of the Move Management. This is Hanson Brothers Move Management and their phone number. And they have, if you've been to any of the Downsize with me and with Beth, Beth is with this company. And they have this Move Management side and all of these resources there. And so if you have any questions, for instance, I might be interested in having a sale. If I move out of my house, having an estate sale, who do I call? You can call them for resources. It doesn't cost you a penny to do that. And it's and then they can talk to you more too about that Dig My Pics. It works really well. Beth swears by it. I have not tried it myself. I should, but I haven't done that myself. I've narrowed down my pictures. I went through and sorted them. It might be a good place to start, because there's a lot of pictures as you go through that you probably don't ever want to even put on digital, because they're just scenery or people you traveled with that you don't even remember who they are. So if you can do that, but then you can send them off. They will fix them and scan them and send them. They're going to send all your pictures back to you. So you can just throw them away. It's okay to throw pictures away once you have them. in a different system in the cloud or wherever, on a device, whatever they, maybe you get to choose what you want to put them on. So you'll have those pictures. And I think that's a great resource to have it, because especially when it's in the cloud, because they keep changing our computers and taking all of our little gizmos away, so we can't use our discs anymore. So I hope that answers your question. Anyone else? Da, 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 da. Thank you for coming. Oh, one more?
One more.
Oh.
Okay. Do you have a good website for what paperwork to keep and what to discard? I noticed there are different opinions. Do you do files or notebooks?
So I have a good resource that again came from HB Move Management of things to keep and things to that you don't have to keep, or how long you should keep things. And I will put that in this package of information. So when Larry calls you, be sure to tell him, and specifically that piece of paper that you want to have. I'll make sure you have it. I don't have it with me right now, so I can't go over it.
Why not Craigslist?
Craigslist is, you hear a lot of stories about how sometimes things don't work out so well with Craigslist, and it's more open, so you never really know who you're talking to. And for me, first of all, for me personally, I don't want a stranger coming to my house and walking in my house and looking at my things. I don't know who they are. And especially now in COVID, first of all, you wouldn't let them in. But even so, I don't want to let a stranger in my house because you just don't know. And so it's just not as well monitored as some sources. However, if you have children or grandchildren who feel really comfortable using Craigslist and can do it for you and can take those items and meet them, then someplace else maybe. I had a person whose grandmother moved in here, and she just had it all worked out. So she put things on Craigslist and sold a lot of things. And it was before all these neighborhood groups came out. But she had it worked out, so no one ever could get into where her grandma was. And because her grandma had really nice things, and she didn't want anyone to be able to even see those things. So, if you have help in your family that can help you with that, you can try it. But otherwise, I wouldn't. Anyone else? Oh, is that it? Is that a hand clap, Tina? Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for coming. It's my favorite thing to talk about. Oh, look at, there's a little one there. I see you, Jane.